Volume is turned all the way up. Let's get into it. Here is why cardio is not the answer for you guys specifically, okay? Obviously, it depends on what your goals are, but for most people, their goals are muscle retention, muscle retention, muscle retention, muscle retention, aesthetics, 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 body game, body game, body game, looking lean. None of that shit has anything to do with cardio, right? If you are prioritizing cardio, you're already cooked. All right, that is not your priority when you're trying to lose fat. All right, I'm gonna keep saying this shit because I get way too many DMs with people. And listen, it's the same people that have been saying this stuff for 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. They've been doing the same shit, not getting the results, and spamming it over and over. Like, yo, I'm doing cardio. Why is it not working? Yo, I'm doing cardio. Why is it not working? Because you're working harder, not smarter, right? Here's the thing. This is why most of you guys don't get lean. And like I said, it's not lack of cardio, right? If cardio was the answer, more people would be lean because more people do cardio than eat healthy. More people would do cardio than progressively overload and strength train properly. Let's just be honest. All right. The treadmills are usually filled with, overweight people trying to lose fat or burn calories. All right. Burning calories. And okay, burning fat and losing fat is not the same thing. I say that every video. All right. Losing weight and losing fat are completely different. All right. When you lose fat, guess what happens? You maintain more muscle mass, so your metabolism stays faster, your body composition is improved, you're going to see your abs cool. All right, when you lose weight, it can be muscle, it can be water, right? You just want to lose weight on the scale, you don't give a shit about the quality of it. All right, losing fat is quality, losing weight is just quantity. Very big difference. All right, it's like losing fat, you're being a sniper. You're like, all right, I want an 8 out of 10 chick that looks like this, that does that, that goes to the gym. If you're like losing weight is just like an AK-47. It's like, okay, I'm smashing whatever I see type shit. You feel me? All right. And one more thing, you're not gonna out cardio a bad diet. You guys read that, you guys hear it all the time, and you guys don't apply it at all because you do cardio because you feel like shit because you ate like shit. You can't out cardio a bad diet. All right. Now, here's some misconceptions. Cardio burns more fat, burns more fat than weight training, and when you prioritize cardio, you're going to lose more fat, all this stuff, right? You will definitely lose more weight if you prioritize cardio. It's just going to be a lot of muscle and water, of course, and glycogen, all that stuff. So 1 hour on the treadmill is going to burn around 500 calories, which is literally one McDonald's large fry. All right. And who spends an hour on the treadmill every single day? That's a lot. But like I said, spending that long on the treadmill is going to increase your risk of losing muscle in general. And like that doesn't justify eating fucking McDonald's, obviously, because that's not you're not going to be healthy internally either. All right, all right. The reality of what causes fat loss. All right, calories in versus calorie out. All right, we know that, but nutrition and a small sustainable deficit is going to be very, very important. Do not overdo the deficit. Here is my biggest pet peeve of all time. When I see people fatter than me, and I don't mean like by like 2%, 3% body fat. No, that's not a big difference. I see people who are 20% body fat more than me, they're 30, 40% body fat, and they're eating less than me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You don't know, like, what are you doing? You're literally wasting your time. Get in a small deficit. You have so much fat to lose, right? You literally have so much fat to lose. You can eat 3,000 calories and lose fat, but you decide to eat 1,800. That doesn't make any sense, and that's why you're not going to sustain it because you're not in a sustainable deficit. But you also may lose more muscle early on, right? Especially if you don't know how to eat right. Your protein is going to be like moderate to low, and you're going to lose a lot of muscle. All right. And when you lose muscle, your metabolism slows down. You want a resistance train, you want to keep your strength, and you want to preserve muscle. All right. Good luck going from eating 4,000 calories, which is what most of you guys eat. Most of you guys eat 4 to 5,000 calories. Like I said, I don't argue with people. I just look at stomachs. All right. So if I see your stomach, I'm like, that's 4,000 calories. If I see a bigger stomach, that's 5,000 calories a day. Easy. Right. So that's what most people are eating. And if you want to maintain your strength and maintain muscle and prevent loose skin, you have to make sure that you are lifting weights and you're in a sustainable, smaller deficit when you start and keep your protein high. Specifically at the start, that's the most important time. Burning fat also doesn't mean you're losing fat. No one's ever gonna understand that shit. Fat loss is literally a calorie deficit. All right. So if you burn 1,000 calories from working out, but you eat 1,000 calories of bullshit right after, you're back to square one. All right. Simple. And by the way, you can burn fat like everybody burns fat. So if you see someone who's like 40% body fat and they're out of shape and they look disheveled and depressed and you're like, man, you need to burn more fat. They're burning a lot of fat at rest because they have a lot to maintain, right? They're just not losing fat because they're constantly eating at maintenance or eating above maintenance, which means they're maintaining or gaining fat. Simple. All right. Just like that's why I say when people have stubborn belly fat, it's like your habits are stubborn. You're eating the same amount of food to maintain that amount of body fat that you have. If you want to reduce that amount of belly fat or body fat you have anywhere, you reduce your calories. Simple. So where does cardio actually help? Since I'm always talking shit about cardio, listen. All right, nutrition is going to be 80% of your results, obviously. But as far as where cardio actually helps is like if your NEAT is super, super low and you don't want to decrease your calories, which you could still decrease your calories. But if your NEAT is super low, like 1,000 steps per day, and your nutrition is already at like 2,400 calories, and you don't want to go below 2,400 calories, and you hit a slight plateau, like your weight loss slow down a little bit, you could increase that 1,000 to about 6,000 to 8,000 steps, somewhere in that range, and then that'll continue the fat loss, right? Without completely going into the interference effect and without affecting recovery, especially if it's low steady state or if it's slow walking, relaxed walking. Me personally, I would just reduce the calories, obviously, but that's where it can help. You can add in some calories. I mean, you can add in some calorie burn there, nothing crazy. However, if you're already getting like 10K steps a day, you try to bump it up to 20K steps a day, you're going to be going into the interference effect and you're going to be interfering with your recovery from weightlifting. You'll be potentially losing some muscle mass, which will affect body composition and increase cortisol. All right, now this is my biggest pet peeve of all time. Everyone who says the stupid shit about I do cardio for heart health. No, the fuck you don't. All right, cardio with shit nutrition is worse than no cardio and good nutrition. That's why people would get mad at me and they'd be like, "Dude, like your heart health's not good if you don't do cardio." And I'm looking at one of the fattest motherfuckers doing an hour on the stairmaster. I'm like, "Dude, you're wasting your fucking time." All right, like I see that same. There was always a fat motherfucker on stairmaster. 1 hour is what he spent. Then he would go to the Jamaican spot and he would eat a bunch of bullshit, right? Which is exactly why his stomach was that big, right? So overweight people, even if they do cardio, they have more visceral fat. When you have more visceral fat, you're putting your heart at way more risk. You're gonna have higher risk of heart attack, all that shit. All right. Of course, you're gonna have higher risk of type 2 diabetes because you have high cholesterol and you have high blood pressure. Now, if you're overweight and you have visceral fat from like eating like shit, whether your cholesterol is high or not, or whether your blood pressure is high or not, it doesn't matter what it currently is. It's gonna be high eventually. All right, it's pretty much guaranteed that it'll be high. If you got lucky right now and you're like, oh my god, it's not high yet, it's gonna be high eventually because of your habits. All right, fried foods, the goofy shit, all that shit's gonna increase your LDL, blood pressure, overall cholesterol. All right, cardio cannot counteract the damage of poor diet on arteries. Simple. So if you're like, damn, I eat like shit, let me do cardio, you still have bad heart health, and you're like, bro, like the doctor's saying my cholesterol's high, my blood pressure's high, but I'm like doing cardio. You're eating like shit, bro. You're sneaking those cakes at night. You're sneaking those cookies. All right, and then you're trying to justify it with cardio. That's just immature, dumb shit. Face the facts. All right. Another thing is when you eat good nutrition, you lower your cholesterol and you lower the inflammation. You guys don't realize that when you're constantly eating, unhealthy foods, ultra processed foods, and you're constantly in a state of being overweight, being obese, you are constantly inflamed 24/7. All right. So good nutrition is going to improve your blood vessel health. All right. Strength training as well is going to increase your muscle mass, which is going to act like a sponge for blood sugar. All right. Muscle mass is going to make your insulin sensitivity even better. And a lot of you guys don't know that shit, but that's why I'm always like, yo, you want to lower your A1C, build some muscle, lose some fat, and lock in on nutrition. No Pop Tarts, no ultra processed foods. All right. Like I said, you could eat white rice, you could eat white potatoes. It really doesn't matter. All right. Eat in a deficit, build muscle, and you'll get rid of your type 2 diabetes. It's really not that hard. Honestly, type 2 and insulin resistance, most people are just lazy, and that's why they don't get rid of those things. And then they blame genetics, but they go home and they eat absolutely diabolical foods that if I ate, I would throw up. All right. Maybe I could eat it on a cheat day, but they eat a cheat day every single day and then they blame genetics, which is crazy. All right. Now, overweight individuals who only do cardio but eat junk, they're still gonna have insulin resistance, obviously, even if they jog for 30 minutes. Like I keep telling you guys with the examples on my TikTok live, they just make me laugh because or TikTok comments, people will say stuff like, "You don't understand. My doctor, he and I, we were we were searching for solutions. I was running 5 kilometers, and I was still having this belly fat." And I was like, bro, it doesn't matter how far you're running. I don't give a shit. It's what you're eating, bro. Like that's the dumbest shit ever. You're running 5 kilometers, but you're not changing your nutrition. You expect results. You're the dumbest nigga alive, bro. All right, part three. Healthy eaters who lift usually have less visceral fat, like your boy. You can do an in-body scan. It'll show you your visceral fat. Mine was like lower than normal or whatever. But that's just because of nutrition. It's not because I'm lucky. No, the shit was high when I was fat because I was eating like shit. Lifting weights can improve vascular function, resting heart rate, all that stuff, man. That's why I always preach this stuff. Like if you just do the bare minimum, you do the basics, you're gonna knock out all these issues. You won't even be worried about it, right? Like you don't know how many things can go wrong from eating unhealthy until you eat unhealthy and you don't take care of yourself. There's like literally that opens up the doors for pharmaceutical companies to literally profit off of you because there's As soon as you start eating unhealthy, you're sedentary, you're eating, McDonald's, you're lacking sleep, you're not lifting weights. So many, all the issues and all the comorbidities come out of nowhere. And then you're like, I don't know what happened, just one day. It's like, no, your habits were bad. That's what happened. All right. So yeah, combined with good nutrition, you're gonna have better arteries, stronger heart, healthier metabolism, all that stuff, right? Versus junk food is gonna be, like I said, chronic inflammation. So make sure you're eating healthy fats, omega 3s, fiber, all that stuff, all right? Very, very important. Now, creating a deficit via cardio. All right, a lot of you guys in the comments are always fans of this, and you're like, nah, bro, I'm going to create a deficit via cardio. And then I say, okay, let me know how it goes, and you never come back because you either quit or you look like shit so much that you were like, oh man, I gotta go back to eating more food because I lost too much muscle. Here's the thing: you're going to lose more muscle mass. All right. Now, if you are an endurance athlete and you have a lot of muscle to start off with, this is a good thing that you're losing more muscle mass because now it's going to be easier for you to run faster at longer distances, right? So if you're doing like 10 kilometers and you have a lot of muscle, the muscle is counterproductive to you running that far because you have to use so much energy to maintain it all, and then you're going to be more, it's going to be more strenuous you running, just like boxing, right? If you want to be the best boxer, you can't be the most muscular person. If you have too much muscle, it's going to slow down your punching, but also you're gonna have to use more power to punch every single time, so you're gonna tire out way faster. All right, very simple. Strength is gonna drastically decrease, so you're gonna be losing muscle. You're gonna have higher cortisol, more water retention, flatter look. If you've ever noticed when you do more cardio, you have like a flatter look. The only people I've seen successfully do a lot of cardio while getting lean, steroid users. Like they do cardio and they get super lean. They're like, yeah, man, I preach by. That's why I never trust anybody that says I preach by 60 minutes. Like the dudes who are like shredded on TikTok, they're like, nah, man, like that's why you guys aren't shredded. 60 minutes on the Stairmaster after each session, and they're actually shredded. And their shoulders are massive, traps are massive, their waist is small. They got like 10 obliques showing. I'm like, yeah, that dude's on gear, bro. Because unless you're eating 4,000 calories or some shit, or unless you're eating between your weightlifting session and your cardio, and you're eating like 4,000 calories a day or some shit like that, 60 minutes is just that's not good for muscle preservation. That's just not. All right. And then you're gonna have a lower metabolism because, like I said, less muscle. You're gonna have a skinny fat appearance. All right, this is all for naturals, like I said. Lower energy, more joint stress, and you're gonna have to continually increase your cardio because your body's gonna get used to whatever amount that you put out there. Like the body's very adaptable. If you did 20 minutes of cardio, it's like, oh, this is cake. After a couple of weeks, then you got to do 30 minutes. Right. So yeah, and then if your muscle mass goes down as your body gets used to the cardio, it's gonna be horrible, bro. It's gonna be a disaster. All right. Now, creating a deficit via strength training. Nutrition and strength training. This is my favorite thing to do. It's the easiest shit to do, right? It's the less is more approach. All right, the less is more approach. Keep it very simple. Muscle mass is gained, maintained. Worst case scenario, right? But yeah, you're gonna gain muscle mass in your. Usually when I cut, I gain some muscle mass in like my triceps and shit like that. All right, strength is gonna be maintained, which is good. Better testosterone, more muscle mass, which means better A1C insulin sensitivity. All right, faster metabolism, lean aesthetic look, appetite isn't going to be as high because when you're constantly doing cardio, you're going to be hungry as shit, right? Like literally. Obviously, when you strength train, you're going to be decently hungry, but if you're doing hit cardio or long distance cardio, you're going to be hungry as shit, even though you only burned an extra like 300 calories. All right, so let's just keep it very, very basic, keep it very simple. The reason most people won't get lean because what I just mapped out, it's I see people in the comments say what I think is just is a pretty dumb mindset you got to get out of. It's like, man, the weight's not going down fast enough. Who gives a fuck about the weight, bro? If you get to your weight goal faster and you look like shit, you didn't achieve anything, and now you have to go back to square one. So you're just wasting more time. All right, that's what I see all the time. People are like, I got to my weight goal, it didn't look how I wanted to. Yeah, because you rushed it. All right, so there's really no reason to do that. Focus on your body fat percentage goal. Your body fat percentage goal might make you 10 pounds heavier or 10 pounds lighter or 15 pounds lighter than you thought you would have to be or 15 pounds heavier than you thought you had to, but usually lower than you thought you would have to be honest. But it's a process, just like it took you to get fat. It takes a long time to get, lean. It's a monotonous process, but when you're losing 1 to 2% body fat per month, it adds up. All right, it adds up after 6 months. The year is gonna pass anyways. I've been saying like ever since last year at this time, I've been saying the year is gonna pass anyways. The year passed. Where were you last year versus this year? Were you in the same spot? Did you make progress? Like think about that shit. If you just changed 1% each month for the past 12 months, you would have been down 12% body fat. You might be at 22% body fat, so that means you would have been at 10%. If you lost 2% body fat per month and you were at 30%, that means you would have been at like fucking below 10% by now, or you'd just be maintaining 10%, right? Type shit. So please stop getting mad at everything that you have to lose, right? Like a lot of you guys that have to lose 50 plus pounds, 100 plus pounds, it's like you guys are getting mad, like, oh, I'm so mad. It's like, nigga, you ate the fucking food to get that fat. Like that's fucking crazy. I'm not gonna lie, that's the craziest shit. Like being 100 to 150 pounds overweight, you have to realize like that's ridiculous, bro. You're not getting respect from anybody to let yourself get to that point. And people who are like, you don't understand what it's like to be that fat. A good thing I don't. It's a good thing I don't. But you need to lock the fuck in and raise your standards and get lean. All right. You don't understand how, bro. When I get like I said, if my boy like my boys when they get to like 15%, they're like lock in. They're like, okay, I gotta lock in. Like you have to really let yourself go and hate yourself to go past that point. But the journey of getting down to your like getting your body fat lower is like the process of you loving yourself again. All right, that's all it is. And at the end of the day, it's not really gonna be just exercise, obviously. So like a lot of people are like, nah, you don't understand. I don't have time to exercise. Yes, the fuck you do. Number one, but if you didn't, you still somehow make time to eat. Like I said, you stop at a gas station, you eat glizzies and pizza. Like I'm not doing that shit. You're doing that shit. Don't get mad at me for what you're eating. You're eating it, not me, bro. Like you're overeating every meal, and then you get mad at me and everybody else. It's like, and then you get mad at your doctor, bro. Your doctor is literally working, and you're binging, and then you go to your doctor and get mad. Like y'all niggas is crazy. Anyways, link is in the description for one-on-one coaching, serious inquiries only. If you're ready to actually work, listen like I just said, if you're ready to actually put in the work, because it's a monotonous process, but I do guarantee that you'll get leaner if you put the work in. But listen, a lot of people are just like, yeah, I want demand results, I want demand results. And they're not willing to do the bare minimum now. I like efficiency. I like bare minimum stuff. So my stuff is pretty bare minimum. It's like, yeah, you're gonna work out. You're gonna eat what you need to eat. I'm not gonna make you do crazy cardio and fucking rope. What do you do? Whatever they call it, the rope shit and like box jumps and shit like that. But you gotta be willing to be consistent. All right, a lot of people they see the work. They're like, yeah, man, this is fun for a week. And then their emotions are like, I don't know if I could do this. I just pussy shit, man. So if you're not a pussy, link is in the description, man.